It's a brand new week. There he is, Marco D'Amico. I am Shaun Starr. Welcome back to a fresh week with fresh content as we get that much closer to Montreal Canadiens getting back to the real business as we end the month of August and bust into the month of September. Thanks for being with us all summer long, Marco. Deep into the summer, still, I'm very proud of our August numbers. I know they've dipped obviously since the Canadiens lost to Washington in 5 games in the early spring, but here we are. We managed to carry the bulk into late August, and as I mentioned, ready for Habs camp. Not too bad, huh?
I wouldn't say it's too bad, but I think we have a pretty strong audience that's really fun to engage with. That really are passionate, so it makes our job really easy. I'm not going to pat myself on the back. I'm going to give them the baton and give them a high five.
Listen, as we introduced you last week, we're proud to pump the tires of local businesses. We support them; they support us. We all support each other, like Little Bear. LittleBearOnline.com. Everything you need for your dog, for your cat. You want to go plant powered for your animals, littlebear.com. LittleBearOnline.com can definitely hook you up with new sales every week. Check their website and socials for all the details. Don't forget, sales throughout the month of August on boots and sweaters. Start thinking about getting your cat comfortable for those winter months. So that's number one on the agenda. Before we get into the topic du jour, Marco, as we hinted last week, we have a surprise on the horizon, and I think we're a little bit more free to delve into that a little bit more with a brand new sponsor. It is the home of the Habs on Peel Street, McLean's Pub, starting in a few weeks with us. Very excited to welcome in McLean's. I've been there a bunch of times. Marco, you're a little bit younger than me. I think you've spent a few hours, days. I want to tread carefully for the hours you
Are
spent
we,
over at McLean's.
are we talking about cumulatively or at a
Yes,
time?
collectively, the collective.
Collectively, I think I've easily spent a month on McLean's in my life.
Yeah. And obviously we're extremely proud to have McLean's with us. And guess what? We're going to take that guy out of his home office. We're going to take this guy out of his home office, and we're going to join forces together in person for some live shows at McLean's coming up throughout the early goings of the Montreal Canadiens season. Maybe a Saturday night when the Habs are playing the Bruins or they're playing in Toronto, for example. How about that? A little watch party together with tons of giveaways, tons of swag, tons of free stuff. All that coming up. So very exciting times. All right, Marco, settle down.
You had me
I
at you had me
can
at the
see
food.
Marco's. Hey,
You had me at food.
yeah, no kidding.
I
Butter
guys,
chicken.
I still say this. The butter
Yeah,
chicken pizza over there ended me.
yeah, top
Ended me.
shelf.
I was in love.
Top shelf, no doubt. Waiting for the news on what's going on with Lane Hutson. We were all scratching our heads like, what do you mean Team USA's orientation camp and the invites have been sent out? What? Where's Lane Hutson, the reigning rookie of the year, Mr. 66 points, Mr. setting records? Wait a minute. Oh, right. It's hockey. Petty politics come into play. Marco D'Amico reporting with RG.org on the latest around. Lane Hutson missing the USA orientation camp, partly due to the World Hockey Championships. Let's connect those dots, Marco. What's going on with Lane Hutson? Let's elaborate on your reporting.
Yeah, so sources close to Team USA basically indicating that with their perception of these players being so close, they wanted to see them out of their environment and in more of an international setting to evaluate how valuable they could be on a selection camp of 6 or 7 defensemen and obviously forwards. And with Lane Hutson opting to not go to the World Championships, on top of being a smaller player, on top of being more of the same when you already have a Quinn Hughes and a Zach Werenski, well, they just decided, hey, uh, we don't see the value of being able to bring you on.
Yeah.
Now, I am paraphrasing. This is not my opinion. This is reporting. If you guys want to go absolutely bonkers on the comment section, go for it. Leave me out of it. All I'm giving you is what I'm being told. So we've seen this before, and this is not new. And in fact, one of our sources actually pointed out the commonality in how Nick Suzuki, albeit probably deserving of being on Team Canada's Four Nations team, and even more so with the way he ended the season, was not selected in part because he simply he has turned down going to the World Championships. Basically, Nick Suzuki has not represented his country since 2019
Right.
at the World Junior Championships, or 2018. I'm pretty sure it was 2019. And so the issue at hand, the crux is, you're not going the extra mile. And I don't necessarily agree with this. I don't necessarily like the notion that you have to show up to be selected, like, especially if it's contextual, right? You look at Nick Suzuki, for example, his situation, and we'll bring this back to Hutson. But Nick Suzuki was the only top six center on this team, still is, in terms of being able to play, and he's overplayed. He's played what, 21 minutes a game on
Right.
like 22 minutes a game sometimes. And he does that for 82 games. And then you add the other 5 in the playoffs this year. And you saw it, like Nick Suzuki he hasn't missed a game, but by the end of the season, he's got a couple of boo-boos, and so you would rather rest that than go to the World Championships. Now, granted, last year he got engaged, right? So that there was that, and so like they were up in arms, like, why didn't you cut? Well, I mean, my dude's been planning this. He didn't know that he was going to get an invite. So that's the politics of that. Now you look at a guy like Lane Hutson. Obviously, the Team USA. There's another aspect to get into this. Team USA wants to be a big team. They want to be a team that's going to intimidate, a team that's going to rough it up, very much in the line of the Kachuk brother style of play. And when you already have a Quinn Hughes, who is, basically around the same build, or will be once Lane truly bulks up, I feel, it's you have a very similar player. Now, the issue at hand is, and we saw it at the Four Nations, you're going to get to these tournaments, some of these guys may be injured. And that opens the door for some of these guys. So basically, the crux of the situation is there's a lot of the same, and then he didn't show up to the World Championships.
Yeah.
But my evaluation is, okay, sure. But then why is Luke Hughes there?
Exactly.
Why? Jackson Lacombe,
yeah,
right, had a really good season in Anaheim. In fact, like, he was the young defenseman that actually took off while Pavel Mintyukov regressed a little bit, in Anaheim. So like, he'd actually played really well. You look at some other guys that you were just kind of like raising eyebrows to, like Jake Sanderson absolutely deserves to be there. Sure. I get the beef between Ottawa Senators fans and Canadiens fans, but Sanderson absolutely deserves to be there. So you look at the players that were available, and then you look at the GMs that are on the table there, and I wouldn't say nepo picks, but there's definitely a little bit of familiarity that also went into the selections.
Well, I mean, that's why my opening statement included politics. I mean, my entire life I've experienced it my own self when I played a low level hockey. Forget about getting up to this super elite level, where politics definitely play a part. But I wanted to pick up on something you mentioned early on in your answer. Was the context of Lane Hutson. The season he had, playing a full season. Really not having a ton of downtime, putting up the numbers. Like, I'll tie it into Nick Suzuki again. I always kind of laughed a little bit, Marco, like when Team Canada would come out and say it's my way or the highway, like Dad used to say when you were a rebellious teenager. Under my house, under my roof, my rules. You don't like it, go pay rent somewhere else. Like, what are we talking about here? This guy was resetting the rookie record books in the National Hockey League, and we're coming out here with these kind of thinly veiled threats: do this or else, do this or else, or you're not going to get this, that, or the other. Like, I just have a problem getting there at the professional level. This is professional men's hockey. What I do on the ice, how I am as a teammate, those to me should be the two biggest factors to getting an invite or being left on the outside looking in. And to me, Lane Hutson has done nothing that warrants him being left out looking in, and us spending 15 minutes talking about the reasons why, and you're reporting RG.
I think the thing that raised my eyebrow a little bit when I was told that, and I kind of retorted with this, and they didn't really have an answer for me, was but Lane Hutson was at the 2024 World Championships,
Right.
right? He was at the year
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
and he looked good that year. Like he looked really, really good. Or and I may be getting the dates wrong. I don't have access to Elite Prospects or Hockey DB right now, so forgive me, folks. But he was definitely at one of the two World Championships following his draft selection, and he looked very, very good. It could be 2023. I could be mistaken, but all this to say, Lane Hutson has represented his country every time they've called, generally speaking, except for this year. And so I find that very unfortunate. But I the way that I see it is as such, there's you can understand the fact that he's only played a season. You could understand the fact that although he put up absolutely historical numbers
Yeah.
offensively, there were some question marks defensively, and it's fair to point them out. It's fair to point him out. He's a rookie. Uh, and this has always kind of been an issue for Lane Hutson. And then he kind of just continues to learn. That's what good hockey IQ is. And I'm sure that part of his game is going to round out and he's going to be a very complete yet offensively inclined defenseman, for years to come. But this is year one and they're basing themselves on year one. And I'm not making excuses for them, but I'm saying that to me would have been a better excuse than the one I was given. And so I honestly feel like if you put Luke Hughes and Lane Hutson together, like to side by side on the ice, and you isolate them and you watch them play, I don't know any general manager in the NHL that would pick Luke Hughes over,
Yeah.
Lane Hutson right now.
Eh, eh,
And this is not to say that Luke Hughes is a scrub. Absolutely not. We're talking about like the top 5% of defensemen, future defense, like star defensemen in the NHL. But I just don't know if Luke Hughes makes that roster if his last name isn't Hughes.
I think that's a very good point to bring up, which, I can connect the dots this way. It's very important. We haven't even kind of mentioned it yet. This
Mm-hmm.
is not the training camp roster, and it's an orientation roster. It does not mean that Lane Hutson will not be there in February when
Well,
USA
okay.
takes to the ice. But like before we get into that, right? Um, when we talk about the roster and everything else, I mean, Lane Hutson's talking is going to be done more or less on the ice. What I'm curious about is like when we get down to the nitty gritty and the season is underway and we're past a Christmas break and we're like, okay, we're getting down to naming roster players for your country, Canada, USA, take your pick. Who's Lane Hutson fighting for? Like, who's going to be, in that discussion we talk about? Okay, the Habs are going to make the playoffs, or the Red Wings are going to make the playoffs. We'll take a team out of the Eastern Conference and replace them with whatever team you think is going to get there. If Lane Hutson's going to make this team, who doesn't make it because Lane is there?
This is what I was told. I was told that these orientation rosters are not final. I was
Yeah.
told that this is also kind of an, quote unquote message sent to Lane Hutson. Like if he really wants it, prove us wrong type thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What? I feel
Yeah.
like that message could be sent in a softer tone, but whatever. I'm not the
How
general
often has he heard
manager."
that message? How many times in his career has he heard that, eh?
So this is kind of where I bring the discussion. Don't poke the bear. And I think they poked the bear.
Good.
I'm not going to say because you're going to see tabloid websites basically say this and fake Facebook quotes coming out
Oh
of
my god,
nowhere.
that was so
But
juicy.
but
That was so
allow
juicy.
me to shed categorical light on how this happens.
Yeah, yeah.
The Hudson camp obviously is disappointed, but you know, going into this season is Lane Hudson's contract year. He was
Right.
already motivated as is. You have put gasoline all over the season,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
you have basically said throw the match and walked away and just
Yeah.
see what kind of destruction happens. I don't want to hype Canadians fans because I don't want to be a seller of goods. I'm not a used car salesman,
Huh.
but I would be utterly shocked if Lane Hutson didn't start the season coming out like an actual bull. Just yet another obstacle for him to overcome. And
Yeah.
again, good kid, really grounded. Works excessively hard. I mean, you basically have to lock the doors to the arena to get him to stop skating. So I have a linking suspicion that the Lane Hutson that we saw, I would say in the second half of the season, that was basically a point per game defenseman. Um, I think we may see that, but in a more fleshed out 82 game season. And that to me is going to be extremely interesting. Why? Because not only is he getting better, but they now have help in the form of Noah Dobson to kind
Yes.
of alleviate
Yeah.
the matchup situation. And I think that's going to make a world of a difference.
I don't know if Lane Hutson's going to take a page out of the infamous quote from the Last Dance documentary with Michael Jordan. I've chosen to take that personally, and let's see what happens. Obviously,
Okay.
as of this recording, Lane Hutson doesn't even have a contract yet, right? So, well, a contract extension, I
There
should
it is.
clarify, right? So, um, just
And we'll
another
talk about that. We'll talk about
another
that in a little bit more detail in the next episode.
another bullet point. Um, I love motivating. I love motivating, and especially at this elite level of athletics where every player looks for edges, something that tips the scales in their favor, just a psychological button that's pushed that says, "Oh yeah? Oh yeah? Okay. Hold my beer. Just watch me cook." I got a
Ah,
feeling Lane Hutson is hardwired that way. That's just my read. For a guy like that to perform the way he has, punching uphill all the time, I have the utmost confidence we might be strongly talking about Lane Hutson having a USA Olympic roster spot. Just give it a few months. That's Marco D'Amico. Read all his latest reporting at rg.org. Follow Marco on all your favorite socials at MN D'Amico, and you can support us by supporting this channel, like and subscribe, and our sponsors at littlebearonline.com. Don't forget, tomorrow on the episode where new episodes drop Monday through Friday at 10 a.m., we're going to get into Marco Rossi, Frank Nazar, Lane Hutson, connecting the dots there. You don't want to miss it. That drops tomorrow at 10 a.m.